Welcome to O-Level core subjects in 200 days. Join me on the Sunday journey to master level physics, chemistry, and mathematics. We will cover the fundamentals, build learning skills, and unlock your full potential. Your journey begins now.
I'm welcoming you into the series of the O-Level physics in 200 days, and this is the first episode. So in this episode, we're going to start with the basic of physics, which is measurement. Let me just say the basic of O-Level physics, which is measurement. So in this episode, we're going to discuss fundamental and derived quantities, fundamental and derived units, and give examples. So by the end of this episode, you should be able to differentiate between fundamental and derived quantities, fundamental and derived units. Let's go in. What is measurement? So measurement is the process of assigning a numerical value to a physical quantity or attribute such as length, weight, time, temperature, or volume. Now, what does it mean? Now, this means that if you are to have a physical quantity or an attribute, and then you look for a way to assign a numerical value, or you look for a way to know the amount of magnitude of that particular quantity or attribute, that is measurement. Now, moving on to units. A unit is a standard quantity used to express a physical or measurable attribute, such as, let's say for example, we have length. So we can measure length in meter, we can measure length in foot, then we can also measure length in inch. Now this is a physical attribute, or let's say physical quantity. So we also have mass. So you can measure mass in gram, you can measure mass in kilogram, and you can also measure mass in pound. Now third one, let's say time. Now time is just a measurable attribute. So we can measure time in seconds, we can measure time in minutes, and also then the last example, so temperature. So you can measure temperature in degrees Celsius, you can measure temperature in Fahrenheit, so you can also measure temperature in Kelvin. Okay, now moving on to fundamental and derived quantities. Now in physics, there are three most important basic quantities in physics, which are length, mass, and time. So a length is a measure of how long something is from one end to the other. Now let's say I have 2 points, let's call this one point A, and I also have a point, let's call this point B. Now the measure of how long point A is from point B, or how long point B is from to point A, is what? Is the length. Now mass. A mass is the measure of the amount of matter in an object. So it describes the heaviness or the quantity of material in a particular object. Now time is a measure of duration between events or the sequence of events. Now the time for me to draw a line from here to this place, so the measure of the duration for me to draw a line from point A to point B is what is called. Now let's move on to the definition of fundamental quantities and fundamental units. Fundamental quantities are the basic quantities that are independent of others and cannot be defined in terms of other quantities. Now this means that they are the quantities that can stand on their own, and other quantities are derived from them. Now fundamental units are the basic units in which other units depends. Now you should know that fundamental units are the units of fundamental quantities. Now let's move on to the examples of fundamental quantities. These are the examples of fundamental quantities in physics. So we have length, the unit is meter, and this is the symbol for the unit. That is the unit abbreviation is a small letter m. Then we have time, the unit is seconds, then this is the unit abbreviation. We have mass, the unit is kilogram, then this is the unit abbreviation. We have electric current in ampere, so the unit abbreviation is a capital letter A. Temperature, unit is Kelvin, and this is how we represent it. Amount of substance, the unit is mole, and this is how it is represented. What are derived quantities? Derived quantities are the quantities that are derived from fundamental quantities, and also derived units are units that are derived from fundamental units. Now let's take for example area. Area is length times breadth. Now this breadth is also a fundamental, is also derived from fundamental quantities in just another perspective. So that is length times breadth. The unit is meter squared. Now volume is length times breadth times height, and the unit is meter squared. Now density is mass over volume, and the unit is kilogram per meter cube. This is the end of this episode. So in episode 3, I will teach you how to derive the units of any derived quantities at all. So I'll teach you how to derive the unit of any derived quantities. See you in the future episodes.